Hello, welcome to Book Talk. At Book Talk, we get to have an author come and tell us about his book or her book. We always have interesting guests come and share with us about maybe how they wrote the book or specifically what's in the book. And today's guest is a guest who's been here with us. And so we are ready and waiting to hear what he brings back the second time. And I won't take one more minute. I'm just going to invite to the show Joseph Giampapa. Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you, Anthony. It's good to see you again. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have you here a second time to talk about your book. Seems you're always writing. Now, the
Thank you.
first
I
time,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
the first time that you're here, we talked about the book. Uh, I will, I
What I
can.
will, I can.
Yes, and then we discussed much about that. For someone who may not have heard what we discussed, he can always go and search for it. Now, let me remind the people where they can find it. Go to bookplacemedia.com and get that interview. But to get the book, you've got to go to Joseph's website and get it from there. We'll give it to you. So stay here to the end to get all the books that Joseph has written from his book. But the interview is at bookplacemedia.com. Okay, let's not spend much more time here talking about the past. Let's talk about the present, looking forward to the future.
Sounds good. Sounds
Now,
good.
I am thinking that maybe we can give a small intro to someone who is new here, someone who has not heard you before, and they are wondering who is Joseph. Please introduce us to you.
Well, basically, I'm a self empowerment speaker. I do lectures and help people basically, I like to think I introduce people to themselves and to show them their own power with the power within, because we have so much potentiality inside of us. And so often people just kind of ignore that, and
Mm-hmm.
they feel basically almost like victims, like they can't really do anything, like they're just floating around almost like pawns being told what to do, when to do it, and everything else. And we are much more than that. We are creators of our own life, and we have so much potential inside, and as we think, we create, so we could create the life we want. And that's I kind of feel that's my job, to go around and introduce people to their own potential.
Wow, that's Joseph, all the way from Reno, Nevada, the U.S.
Exactly. Cowboy area, cowboy
Oh,
town.
talking of cowboy, what's your experience with the with the riding with the cows and everything? Have you had the experience, or is just that you
Oh
are
yeah,
just with
yeah.
the
I
place?
I love it out west here. I've been out here for many years now, but I originally come from the Chicago area in the Midwest.
Uh huh.
And I heard a lot about how beautiful it was out west, and I came out here, and boy, it sure was. It sure is. The beautiful mountains, lakes, and everything else. This is a wonderful place. The whole western end of the United States is beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful as we always see. And those of you, those of us who have not been there, are always wishing to go to that land of dreams being fulfilled. And now we have here today with us Unleash the Power, or rather, Unleash the Super You Within by Joseph Yampapa. Please introduce us to the book.
Well, the book basically, this is the second book I've written, and it was done basically because a lot of people asked for a little bit more guidance regarding getting to their goals, their successes in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Basically, when you talk about going somewhere, before you can go somewhere, you have to know where you are. So the book
Mm,
starts out with an assessment, basically, where you can. It's got a lot of fill in the blanks and everything else. It's almost like, well, it's a interactive book. It's almost like a workbook where
okay.
you can take a lot of different exercises and things to find out exactly where you are in life at this point in time. That's basically the first step, because before we can go anywhere, we have to know where we are.
Yeah. And someone told me that before you get to where you want to go, you must first be aware of where you are. Yeah, it's just about
Ex-
the same thing. You've got to be aware of where you are so that you can find the direction to where you want to go.
Exactly. And then
Uh-huh.
throughout the book, the first part of the book, I have a lot of exercises for the individual, the reader, to fill in and everything to find out what kinds of things make their hearts sing, what kinds of things bring them joy, what kinds of things have they done in the past that really make them happy, this
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. And then eh, as you start going through these different exercises, you start to really get a feel for who and what you're all about. Once you know that, then you can start to move forward and see what fits where you want to be with the skills that you have. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a step by step process, and it's a very easy book to read. I write it with very big print and everything else, so it's not really hard on the eyes. Sometimes we're finding now that less and less people are reading, which is really sad. But a lot of times people will open up a book and see all the words really all cramped together and everything, and they say forget it and close the book. But this
Mm-hmm.
book, like I say, is made with big print and it's very easy to read. So I try to
Mm.
make it as accommodating as possible.
Yeah, and that's very good because these days we have so much happening. So when I get into something, I must be attracted by something that is going to keep me there, keep reading, and
Exactly.
just say it's in big print. And if I can ask now that you put it in us into the beginning of the book and us identifying where we are and where we want to go, maybe can we have a clue of the chapters? Maybe mention a few chapters, or maybe give us all the chapters if you
Okay,
will.
I got the book right here. We'll go through some of the quick chat. The chapters, in many cases, are very small. Might only be one page, 2 pages, but I cover a lot of different topics. For example, it says, "Have the courage to be yourself," is one of them.
Okay.
Um,
Uh-huh.
how do I get to where I want to go?
Yeah.
Tools needed for the journey.
Yeah.
How to have an open mind, sense of
Mm-hmm.
humor,
Yeah.
your willingness to change,
Mm-hmm.
daily reinforcements, to
Mm-hmm.
healthy attitude,
Mm-hmm.
human energy, energy
Yeah.
transfer,
Yeah.
the importance of touch,
Uh-huh.
things to do and to know,
Yeah.
and and a lot of different exercises.
Yeah, those are all great topics there. So I would be very interested to find out and maybe work out on how you tell me to work them out to get to where I want to be. But I'm going to write at a chapter that is right in the middle, somewhere in the middle, to get us started there, because I know that it's something that you have experienced in. Now, you flew all the way from the States to, was it where? Vietnam, to go and entertain the troops or something
Well,
like that?
Europe. No, I was in Europe.
It was
Yeah,
Europe.
I was based in Germany, but I would travel all around. You know, it could be Italy, England, wherever, entertaining the
Mhm.
troops. But it was during the Vietnam era.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I got that
during
now.
the
Okay.
Vietnam era, and I
Hmm.
entertained troops all over Europe. And it was interesting because it's important to keep a sense of humor because
Yeah.
sometimes life could be very bleak. So we need to
Hmm.
lighten up a little bit and relax our body. Humor is very important, very
Hmm.
important. When we
Yeah.
laugh, we find out it
Hmm.
produces neuropeptides into our system, which are healing chemicals. So it's actually healthy to laugh and to lighten up.
Okay. Give us a hint of what was going on. What was your biggest or best joke during the time?
Oh,
I
oh,
hope it's
you put me on
a
the
general
spot.
exhibition.
You put me on the spot. That was 50 years ago.
Oh,
It
such a long time.
long time ago. It
Yeah.
depends. A lot of times, having been in the army, I would use different things that I experienced while I was in the Army so the men could and the women could identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
comedy, we use what we call common denominators. The funniest jokes are ones that everybody can relate to. So the idea is to use things that people have experienced in the past. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's important. So I try to, wherever I'm at, whatever locale I'm in, I try to tune into that particular area and talk about humorous or funny episodes or things that have happened within that area that people can relate to. And I think
Mm-hmm.
most comedians tend to do that.
Okay. Yeah. So how do I draw my sense of humor if I don't have any? If I am a dull person all day, and you say some of the I mean one of the ways of unleashing my super me. So how do I start it off?
Well, what I talk about there, this isn't based specifically on humor. Obviously, I started out as a comedian, but then went, like I say, into self empowerment. The idea is to try new things. I think, unfortunately, as we become an adult, we tend to fall into a pattern, or some people would even call it a rut. We tend to do
Mm-hmm.
the same things day in and day out, and then we wonder why we're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're within our comfort zone, and we don't like to break out of our comfort zone. And people have to realize to be a success, you have to be out of your comfort zone, because
Yeah.
if you're not having success now and you go and you want success, that's going to be something different outside of your comfort zone. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to think outside of the box. You have to push yourself. You have to start doing some things that are different. I tell
Mm.
people just to start out gradually, maybe one day go to work a different way instead of taking the same way every day. Try
Okay.
something new. Try to go to work a different, down a different street, down a
Yeah.
different way. It'll feel
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable at first. But if you do
Mm-hmm.
it 2 or 3 or 4 times, then it starts to become comfortable. And then you start to bring it in to your comfort zone. So we need to stretch ourselves and keep trying new things, because ultimately, when we're successful, that's going to be a new thing. And so we have to condition ourselves to get there.
Oh yeah. So to the one who's listening, those who are watching, try something different. Try something that is out of your comfort, because that's where your success lies, out of your comfort zone. And Joseph has given us all that is in the book. Not really. He's just given us a highlight of what is in the book, and that's why you should go and get the book from Joseph. Now, you mentioned about the tools that are going to help me unleash my super me. Which
Right.
are they?
Well, basically, I mean, as we expand ourselves and learn new things, we start to acquire new tools, new experiences, new ways of doing things. And I think it's very important to, one of the biggest tools, to start stretching our mind and looking at things in a different way a lot of times. There's,
Mm-hmm.
we used to have a saying that says there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's
Yeah.
many ways to do the same thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to learn to be very versatile in attacking
Mm-hmm.
a problem. For example, we need to look at it from many different angles. And I know I used to teach debate classes and things. And one of the first things you do in teaching debate, when you have an issue to debate, where you find out where the person's coming from, and then you make them debate the opposite view. Because by debating the opposite view, they start to learn a lot more about the opposition and what it's all
Mm-hmm.
about. And so I think we need to do that. We need to expand our mind learning new things.
Mm. I have never thought about that. That maybe we have a class and I identify someone who has a set idea, someone who thinks strongly about a subject, and then I put him on the opposite side so that he may think bigger. He may think much more bigger.
It, it,
That's interesting. Uh,
Exactly. And then you get to even see your original side much more clearly, you know.
mm-hmm.
And we find that when people take a stand on an issue, it's based on how much they know about that issue. But the more
Yeah.
they learn and everything, a lot of times they may even change their mind and go with the opposition again once they learn all the details. So
Mm.
it's really interesting. I used to teach that, the key to a good debate is to learn as much as you can about both sides before you can give an
Mm.
honest, opinion of something.
Wow. Don't be one-sided. Now we bring a disruption to what you know. It's a time that you've got to look at the other side of life and start to debate against yourself to see just what you're missing in your life, and be well informed to take the steps that you need to take in order to go where you want to go and be whom you have to be. And that's you anyway. So
E-
it's just the unleashing you.
Exactly. We are born with so much potentiality. It's amazing. Um, you know, there are people that say things like, I forget who the great author was, but he said it's so sad that so many people go to their graves with their songs unsung. And that's
Mm,
so true because we come in with all this potentiality. And if we don't use it, it seems like such a waste. And you think, how sad, how many great inventions we could have had, how many great pieces of music we could have heard if people would just start using their potential. But some people feel they're powerless. They feel like they're victims, like they can't
mm-hmm,
really do anything. And that's really
mm,
sad. People say, what's the use? I'm just one person. It's amazing. One person can shake up the world. It's absolutely incredible. If we could use even half of the potentiality we have within us, what a phenomenal world we would have. And a lot of
mm.
times, we don't know all the beautiful things we can do until we try, and
Exactly.
and people say, well, I what if I fail? I say, very good, because every failure is a learning experience. It's a step to bring you closer to success. That's what
Yeah.
failure, each little failure is. Each
Mm.
little failure is a learning experience.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm tempted to think, or rather ask you, did you ever face a big challenge that you had to overcome in your life
Oh, very
that you
much
can give
so.
us as an example? Yeah.
Oh, very much so. Yes. I I had a house built up in the mountains about 50 miles from Reno. And during when they were starting to repossess everything, everything kind of went south and everything. I ended up losing my house. 2 days later, I lost my son. My son passed.
Oh,
And then
oh.
2 days
Mm,
later, I was robbed. So it was a terrible time for me. I lost my house. I
mm,
lost my son. I was robbed. And I felt like my life was over. It was
mm,
terrible. And I used to wander the mountains, wander the hills, because we have a lot of mountains around here and hills. Every day I would go off into the hills and I'd walk 10, 15, 20 miles sometimes, kind of shouting at the
mhm,
moon, wondering what's this all about. And the more I start walking and wandering day by day, I started to realize if I wake up and I'm breathing, I still have stuff to do. I
mhm,
still have worth. I still have things to share. And as I start walking, I would always carry a little tablet with me and pencil and everything. And I'd get an idea and I'd write it down. And after about a year of walking the hills, I ended up with a stack of notes and things. And I compiled them. And that's what basically ended up as my very first book.
mhm,
Yeah, things that I had realized and learned about our potential within, and the fact that we are here to share. We are here to
mm,
share because there are no two people alike on the face of the earth. We are each completely unique and have skills and talents unlike anybody else if we really dig in and find them. And we can
mm,
benefit each other. We can benefit each other very much. So as long as we're here breathing, walking around on this planet, we have things to share with others to make this a better world.
and I agree with that. Now, my question here is, um, had that event not happened, or those events had not happened back then, what kind of person do you think that you could have ended up different from what you are today?
Well, I think I would tend to fall into what I call the trap. Like most people, I would tend to
Mm-hmm.
become very sedentary, not venture out to do anything new, and kind of just fall into a rut doing the same thing day in and day out and just finish my life that way, which for me is a great sadness because it's a waste of potentiality. And I
Mm,
think so many of us do that. I worked with at risk kids for years, and it was really sad because sometimes I'd find 10 and 11-year-olds who think their life is worthless because
mm,
they've been beaten down so much by perhaps a parent or friends or somebody telling them that they're worthless or that they have there's no good in them. You know, what's the
mm,
point? You're useless, you're worthless. And they start to buy into that, which is really sad. So they don't try anymore. And you think, my
mm,
goodness, here they are 11, 12 years old and they feel like their life is worthless. And they have all this great potential. They have their whole life ahead of them.
mm.
They need to be introduced to all their power, their potential, because we are creators. We're put on this earth to we're put on this earth to create.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what life's all about. We're here to share and help each other and make this a better place.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we are here. And talking about the kids and how they've been thinking that they are worthless, how they have gone through some challenges in life because of what others have done. And your book, as you highlighted to us, has a chapter dealing with the energy transfer. Now, the energy that we get that the kids have acquired from the others is a negative energy. But maybe you can put it in a better way, a better
Sure,
wording about your chapter.
sure. Basically, every thought is energy. First of all, when we
Mm-hmm,
have a thought, it sends like a wavelength out, almost like a radio wave. Thoughts are things. Okay, so when we think, we actually are generating some energetic vibrations, energy waves, and things.
mm-hmm,
So it's very important to watch your thinking. But when you think, it changes the chemical process in your body. When your chemicals change according to how you're thinking, it creates emotions. When it creates emotions, you tend to emote or give out vibrations or energy. So we can feel other people's energy. A lot of times, for example, if a couple, let's say, have husband and wife have been fighting and arguing, and you knock on the door and they open the door, you could feel the tension in there. You know, they don't have
mm-hmm,
to say a word. You could just feel the negative energy because it's
mm-hmm.
been going back and forth in there, you know?
Yeah.
So thoughts and words actually, excuse me, create energy. So I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, think positive because then you radiate positive energy. And people that are around you will pick up on that and they'll feel
Mm-hmm.
it tends to make them feel better, tends to make them feel good. Nobody likes to be around an angry or sad person because just
Yeah.
standing near that person, you start to pick up negative energy and it makes you very uncomfortable, very
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. So the opposite is true. When you're happy and positive and everything else, you tend to generate that kind of energy. I tell people to turn on their heart light as though they have a light inside of them. Let your heart light shine and radiate, and people pick up
Mm.
on that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
important.
Wow. Wow. So, for each and every one of you who's joining us now, those who may get to watch this after we are through with this episode or listen to it from the podcast platforms that we share it on, we are with Joseph Giampapa covering the book Unleash the Super You Within. That's a step by step guide to your inner power. And so far, we've shared quite some interesting ideas from it. And to get the most out of it, go get the book. go get the book. And where do they get the book, Joseph?
Well, they can go to whatiwillican.com.
Yeah,
Whatiwillican.com. And all my books are on there, along with comments from other people and everything else. There's even some discounts on there. And yeah, so it's whatiwillican.com.
yeah. Okay, whatiwillican.com. So go there to whatiwillican.com. You also have your personal website, I guess.
What's that?
I,
Yes, josephgiampapa.com. Now that's a long
yeah,
Italian name.
okay.
Giampapa, Giampapa.
Yeah,
Joseph
that's Joseph. Yeah, go ahead.
josephgiampapa.com.
Yeah, josephjampapa.com, whatiwillican.com. If you go to those two websites, you go and connect with Joseph and also get his books. And yeah, tell us a bit more of what you would like us to know about the book before we get it.
Well, the book is a handbook. It's meant to be used, not just to be read and put on the shelf. It's
Yeah.
actually a fill in the blank. It has exercises where you write in the book and everything else. It's almost basically a workbook. And
Mm,
if you follow through this book, it'll basically, if you do everything from your heart and with full interest and the proper attitude, you'll get to where you want to go. And it's really interesting. At the very least, you'll learn a lot of things about yourself that you didn't even realize, because we do a lot of assessment in the book and everything else. And you'll find out things that, like, gee, I never realized I really like this kind of stuff, or I never realized I can do this better than most people. So it's kind of interesting to take the assessment and find out
mm-hmm.
what you're all about and where you are at this point in time.
So go get the book, do the assessment. That's why we have the mirrors. That's why we have the mirrors to show us whom we are. It's not just what we think about ourselves, but sometimes I've got to have a mirror in front of me to show me who I am. Yes.
Exactly. That's
Uh-huh.
very good. Good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what we have for today. And we've been very honored to have Joseph with us here. And we welcome any feedback that you may have. We welcome questions that you may ask. And we wish that you unleash that power that is within you, as Joseph would like us do. So, this is about all that we have today at bookplacemedia.com on this book talk show. And once again, we remind you, go to www.whatiwillican.com or josephjampapa.com and get to connect with Joseph and also get the book. And that's almost it. But before we go, we'd like to have a few words that we should always remember. Maybe remind us something that you've said or something that comes into mind.
Definitely.
Something.
I'd like to pass
Yeah,
on words from my mother when we were growing up. She always said, "You'll always find a helping hand at the end of your own arm."
that's a good one. You'll always find a helping hand at the end of your own arm. That's a good one. As a reminder that you have the potential just an arm's stretch from where you are.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joseph. We really appreciate you taking your time and being with us here and sharing your books with us.
Well, thank you.
And
It's been my pleasure.
yeah, we remind all those who are listening to go and get the book, to go and share it with their friends. All this that we've talked about here, share it there, subscribe to our channel, go and just make it known that book reading is an important habit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that has been Book Talk at Book Place, and I've been your host, Anthony Murore. Together with our guest, Joseph Giampapa, we are saying bye for now.
Bye bye.